welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And I also want to say that Ukraine has been tuning in to Big C Sports, so thank you, Ukraine, as well as Russia, so you good old boys are listening. But Big C, there's still, I want to say Canada, I miss singing this song, but I got to wait until they get someone in the playoffs again. But there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all you good old boys down south, Big C?
So I got a fishing license, so yeah. I'm going to have to get out of town and go someplace where it's a little drier down here.
Well, how they have, you said hurricanes, I thought it was like 90 degrees down there. They have 90 degrees and hurricanes, Big C?
Well, you know, that's the perfect storm, as they say, Charlton. You get the warm weather mixing with that warm water and a lot of wind coming in, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what creates the hurricanes. And, you know, they got some riptides going down here on the coast. And like I said, I didn't get my swimming license this year.
Well, you don't.
I'm going to have to fly my butt on out of here.
Well, we know how you good up boys are with your licenses. You don't do a lot of things that need licenses, but you guys do them anyway. I'll let people read me through the line. I want to say today is a beautiful June 20th, 2017. And, you know, summer is so hot in California. Just being down here in Northern California, downtown, they're saying it's about 107 degrees here in downtown Sacramento, Big C. I don't know about you good boys down south. They say California is more of a dry heat. Now, athletes travel all over the country. Sometimes they're going to be in the frigid cold of Chicago, and then they're in the desert heat of Phoenix. How do you good boys down south deal with the climate change, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Georgia, you know, and that's what you're talking about with athletes. You know, you acclimate for all different types of conditions. And, you know, one of the toughest things, I don't care where you play at it, you know, is preparing for heat.
Yeah.
You know, in the cold weather, you can dress for the cold weather, but you can't dress for the heat.
No.
It's not like you can take off more layers of clothes where you can add them, you know, for the cold inclement climate.
Yeah.
And the heat is just the toughest thing to get around as an athlete. You know, I know that there's dry heat and there's moist heat like what we have down here in the south with the humidity. But the thing you have to fight against the most, Charlton, is the dehydration.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the perspiration of the body. Athletes, you know, expend so much moisture. And it's not just the perspiration of the skin, but it's also the exhaustion of the voice.
Yeah.
I mean, the breath.
Yeah.
You expend so much moisture through your breath, and people don't even realize that. It's like, I'm getting on a plane tonight. And, you know, most people don't realize that you dehydrate from compression.
Yeah.
The compression of a plane forces extra moisture out of your body, so it's always imperative that you have a couple of drinks of some sort when you're on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, to get some of that moisture back in your body. But for athletes, it's really tough.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen athletes over the years have to take IVs for dehydration at halftime of events, whether it's basketball games. I know, you know, they had this thing on 30 for 30 with the Lakers and Celtics the past week.
Oh, that was a great series.
On ESPN,
yeah, that was a great show.
Old Boston Gardens, where this was a place without air conditioning.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, you know, we're talking about playing the Celtics, and the temperature inside Boston Garden was 102 degrees.
Yeah.
You think about it as a basketball player that you have to run up and down the court for a couple of hours, and it's 102 degrees.
Yep.
You know, no air conditioning, and all you can do is take in liquid. And regardless of what you take in, it seemed like you had puncture holes in your body. It just kept pouring right back out.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing, Big C. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And, of course, they have a lot of air conditioning units on those Escalades, Big C. But I do want to bring up something you talked about. You know, you travel quite a bit, especially down south. I was hearing that in the news they had to shut down some flights out of the Southwest, like in Vegas and Phoenix, where it gets to be like 110, 115 degrees. Do you ever experience that when you're out there traveling around the South, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I've experienced it in traveling in a team situation, you know, early in the summer, where, you know, once it gets above 114 degrees in certain areas, it's almost prohibitive for a plane to fly, because you're not bringing in enough air in the front of that engine to create the thrust to go out of the back of that engine to get that plane the proper lift.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are not aware of. You know, there's always a weight and balance that they're always concerned about with an aircraft getting off the ground.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things you think about all these large men on a plane, especially when you got a sports team traveling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Not
definitely.
only that, Charlton, you got tons of equipment that you're carrying along and the fuel that's on that plane. So, in certain situations, it's prohibited. Las Vegas today was one of those scenarios where it's prohibited for a certain time of the day for planes to take off. Phoenix, Arizona was one of those today, Charlton, to Mexico. It was also prohibited there. So in the United States, there's various regions where it's above 114, 115 degrees.
Yeah.
Where it's unsafe in the FAA grounds planes, Charlton.
Well, Big C, in Palm Springs, it was 122 degrees, and that's where a lot of the elderly go. And that used to be a place the Rat Pack hung out. But obviously, you guys go out there and stay hydrated. A lot of things happening all over the country, but we want to make sure we reach out to the elderly.
That's why martinis are big back there, Charlton.
Yeah, I hear. I hear that's why they keep you hydrated, Big C. So obviously, Big C, everybody be safe, stay hydrated. Big C Sports will also talk to you about aviation in the world of in the best show in the universe. Big C, when you talk about heat, I just got to get this out. I know sometimes people might wonder if you're psychic, but I think you were saying that Spicer wouldn't last past the baseball World Series, the playoffs, Big C. He didn't even last past the summertime, Big C. Your thoughts on the White House?
Well, the White House has been in turmoil, Charlton, ever since it's been there. It's been about, who's the most popular person.
Yeah.
I think that Donald Trump was looking at a scenario where the media paid attention to Spicer.
Yeah.
More so than what they paid attention to him. And they were taking Spicer's words to heart, and it no longer became Trump's words.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody, gets an upper hand on him as far as notoriety or even the potential of investigating him, he's going to get rid of him, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so this is a situation where you're getting rid of a press secretary.
Yeah.
This guy is only delivering your message.
Exactly.
Delivering your message. You're the one not willing to talk. He has to talk in your behalf.
Yeah.
And so you fire this guy. I mean, realistically, who's not on the chopping block at the White House?
Everybody is.
This administration, Charlton, has fired more personnel in the first 6 months of operation than any administration in history, Charlton.
Yeah. And we know that they're all in trouble. So obviously we'll keep paying attention to the world of sports and politics. Big C, we talk about sports and politics. In the NBA, we just finished the championship in the parade last week here in Northern California, over in the Bay Area in Oakland. And now from coast to coast, there's so much talk on the draft coming up, on Thursday. And we have a lot of people at the trade deadline on Thursday. And a lot of big names are on the trade list, Big C. Even the Los Angeles Lakers are talking about, getting rid of Moskov and D'Angelo Russell, Big C. I think they're talking about doing it now so they can get some money in for Paul George, Big C. Your thoughts on the big things happening?
Well, if they make that trade for D'Angelo Russell and Moskov is not a type of player who's going to fit into a Magic Johnson scheme.
No.
Really, the scheme of the head coach that they have in Walton.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at what he ran in Golden State, Charlton, he ran it up and down the floor tempo.
Yeah.
And they really didn't utilize the big man all the time.
Right.
Even though they had one, it wasn't a mainstay of the offense. And you got to look at this Paul George scenario, Charlton. What is a team willing to give up for Paul George? If Paul George is willing to sign a contract extension, with the trade, then Paul George is worth going after. But he's a free agent after next season.
Yeah.
Now, who's willing to give up merchandise to something that you don't know that you're going to have a guarantee on? So if that Paul George trade is to facilitate, Charlton, there's going to have to be a trade and sign deal in place and probably even bring in a third team to that scenario to move another contract, Charlton, to make it viable. But, there's three teams that they're talking about being in play.
Yeah.
They're talking about the Boston Celtics being in play. They're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers being in play. They're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. But even with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Charlton, they lost their general manager.
Yeah, what?
So who's in charge in Cleveland? I mean, it doesn't make sense. The guy takes you to back-to-back NBA
3 years in a row.
And you fire him?
3 years in a row. And obviously, we talk about ego. Athletes have ego. Owners have ego. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of sense. Big C, we understand that. We've seen that a lot. Look at Donald Trump. But when you talk about that, and everyone says, well, LeBron decides what happens in Cleveland. Well, maybe he should, because how many championships have they won without LeBron James, Big C? How many Eastern Conference finals have they been in without LeBron James? So, players have some clout. And if LeBron can't have some clout, then who's going to have it? But obviously, when you have ownership, they really don't get along anyway, Big C. So you called it earlier. You even said it last year that LeBron would not finish his career in Cleveland, and I think it's safe to say that. I still think, even though there's a lot of talk he'll come out to the West Coast because he has a house in Los Angeles, for the NBA's wise, you need to keep him on the Eastern Conference because whoever they're going to put up against the Golden State Warriors, they got to at least balance the scale when it comes to, star and marquee and fame. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you have to, Jonathan. LeBron James, it's feasible that he stays out here, but, when Cleveland got rid of David Griffin, I don't know what the owner, even though he has Quicken Loans, he made too quick of a decision.
That's a good pun. That's a good pun.
You go to 3 consecutive NBA championship finals.
Yeah.
And you get rid of the GM, the man who has built your organization to make it viable for it to be able to play in those situations.
Yeah.
And even LeBron had to have a great situation. Everybody said Dan Gilbert, but the GM is the one who brings in the players. He brought LeBron back. He brought in Kevin Love.
Yeah.
He's also the guy who drafted Kyrie Irving. He brought in all the role players, Richard Jefferson, Williams, all of these guys that have helped that organization out.
Yeah.
He re-signed Thompson.
Yeah.
To keep the core of the organization together. J.R. Smith, he brought him in.
Yeah.
And now you're going to get rid of him. You got to think about it, Charlton. There's been 28 other teams sitting at home watching Golden State in Cleveland the last 3 seasons, the last month of the season.
Yeah,
okay?
That's true.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
And you're going to say that this GM that has gotten you there for the last 3 years is not knowledgeable enough, or not worthy enough
No, we've seen a lot this year, Big C, in the world of alternative facts. Even hearing about Spicer, there's word that Sessions may be out of there too in the White House. And it's just probably a matter of time before POTUS is out himself, Big C. But there's so much instability in the world of politics and sports. And I bring that up, too, because, your friend Phil Jackson, the one that talks about your posse, and LeBron James has a posse. Did you take your posse down to Florida with you this time, Big C?
I like to fly solo periodically, so we don't want to sneak out of town. And people don't always know I'm gone because the car is still sitting there. I don't even take it to the airport because I don't want nobody in the door in the side of it somewhere, So
yeah.
I leave her behind, and I take this little thing they call Uber. I think
Yeah. Big C, let's be real. Let me ask you, how are the greens down at Mar-a-Lago? Did they let you in with your press pass, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, we needed some goulash down there, things with all the rain that's been going on. And, I'm a little worried about having produce around. I play with enough guys who play cricket.
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, speaking of, Phil Jackson, Porzingis is obviously the European figure they won in New York, and he's actually a decent player, an all-star player. Not saying he would ever measure up to being the team or the guy that can lead the Knicks, Big C, but everybody seems to be on the trading blocks. Let me ask you, when you talk about who's not on the trading blocks, and this is what you talk about all the time, like Tom Brady in the NFL, he takes less money than Kirk Cousins, and Andrew Luck because he wants to win Super Bowls, okay? If you look at Steph Curry, they're talking about a $200 million contract, multi-year contract, when they renegotiate his salary next year. He's a 2-time MVP, defending MVP of the league, and the only time unanimous. Basically, he took less money to win a championship. Now he's about to get paid. Big C, your thoughts?
There's a lot of people that are about to get paid, but people are getting paid that don't have productivity.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing about professional sports is that people are paid for potential instead of productivity. We see that all too often when you look at it. You brought up Kirk Cousins and Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Neither one of those guys has a championship, game win.
No.
Not even Super Bowl, but the conference championship.
Yeah.
One of them that won that.
Yeah.
But each one of those players, Charlton, make at least $10 million more a year than Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Okay? They're being paid for potential in the future, not productivity now.
Yeah.
So we understand what the value of a Tom Brady is based on productivity past and present.
Yeah.
These guys, anybody can say that the guy is worth something
Yeah.
even though he doesn't produce. And
Yeah.
we've seen that too often with professional athletes. We're looking at the NBA right now. Whatever you pay Steph Curry is what he's worth, okay?
Yeah.
Whether you overpay him or underpay him, he's going to be worth that and maybe a little bit more because you got to look what he has done for this organization.
Yeah.
That hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
And there's many players in the NBA, Charlton, that make way more money than what he does.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all in professional sports. There's so many players in professional sports that produce that are underpaid versus
Yeah.
If everybody had a base salary, Charlton, in all professional sports, is that you were paid $1 million or $2 million a year, and then you were paid incentives up and above that based on productivity.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to find the true value of professional athletes.
Yeah.
Not saying that a guy is signing a $200 million contract. You can pay Steph Curry $20 million and put bonus and incentives on top of it. He will reach it.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at what he does, Charlton, you can draw the incentives in that he can reach.
Yeah.
He's going to be okay. It's like when everybody said Kevin Durant took less money to go to the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant has a $200 million shoe contract.
Wow. Wow.
So whatever he got from the Warriors, whether it was $22, $24 million this past season, he's guaranteed $200 million by next year over 5 to 10 years.
That's funny. That's funny, Big C.
It's not like he has to go to McDonald's and eat, Charlton.
I understand. And speaking of that, I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry. And boys and girls sports will always be the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And when you have a sports event, you need insurance. You need athletic and event insurance. You can get it through Ben and Mark. We cover it through Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. If you tweet out to them or give them a call, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. We cover professional athletes, collegiate athletes, your high school athletes, even your mom and pop soccer league. So tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network or Google Ben and Mark and let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, just thinking about the money. At some point in time, it's like having chains in your glove box. You know, sometimes you dig down that glove box and you find some chains in that car. At some time, it doesn't even matter that you find a couple of dollars because you got so much of it. I just want to ask you this thing about Steph Curry. Obviously, if anyone has earned the money in a capitalist society, free enterprise, he's earned the money because he's produced. But I just want to be reminded that this guy, he came into the league. He was not coveted like LeBron James coming out of high school out of Ohio, Akron, Ohio. He was someone out of Davis, and they thought he was undersized. But it just goes to show, with hard work and the right coaching and the ability to learn and listen, you can go to the number one player in the universe, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's about lineage, Charlton. He had a dad who taught him the right way, who had played in the NBA for a decade and a half.
Yeah.
So he had the tutelage when he came into the league, Charlton, about hard work and the work ethic of the league. So many players come into the NBA. I mean, you look at the team down south, the Los Angeles Lakers. Look how many number one draft picks they have on their roster, Charlton, that cannot produce.
Yeah.
Because these guys are awestruck by the city of lights when they get to California.
Yeah.
And they spend more time worrying about their social life than what they do about their game life, Charlton, because they have guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
That's the thing you have with most players in the NBA, especially if you're a number one draft pick. You have a guaranteed contract, so your money and your stature on the team is guaranteed for 3, 4, 5 years sometimes.
Yeah.
And so these players come in and they're trying to figure out what can they do socially, not better themselves as an athlete. Where you see Steph Curry spends nothing but time bettering himself as an athlete. You're already a 2-time MVP.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out ways to make your game and your team better.
Yeah.
That's the consummate professional.
Well,
and that's what Steph Curry brings to the table. You've never heard anything negative about Steph Curry.
No.
He's a family man with a wife and 2 children.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has a great attitude and depiction of the game, Charlton. And that's what we don't get from a lot of young athletes. When you got the NBA draft coming up, you know, here this week on Thursday.
Yeah.
You're looking at a scenario, Charlton, where you have the top 5 draft picks. None of them has spent any time in college, realistically.
Isn't that amazing?
So none of these guys coming into the NBA draft, Charlton, in the top 5 are mature.
Yeah.
They're not. They're a bunch of kids that are going to become instant millionaires, and that's their fascination right now is, what can I go out and spend this money on? When you look at a lot of them in the draft, they were walking there with $100,000 or more in jewelry on around their neck, around their wrist.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they can think about doing. I got to blow over $100,000 on some jewelry.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody with $100,000 in jewelry doing a basketball game at any point in my life.
No, that's funny.
So this is a wasted showpiece.
Yeah.
You know, so no one has got to these young men and say, hey, the jewelry is not the most important thing right now. It is not.
No.
It is about how can you better yourself to be ready for this league that plays grown men every night.
Yeah.
And you have a travel schedule and a work schedule that you need to be on the top of your game, something you've never done before in your life.
Yeah.
Not in some damn jewelry store seeing what you can buy.
Well, that's always funny, Big C. I remember that actor back in the day. His name was Mr. T, and he always had like 100 pounds of gold around his neck. And there's a lot of stereotypical things. There's some African kings and queens that had a lot of gold. But now the modern day athlete, there's no need to walk around with that because it's just a target for anybody who wants to come after you, Big C. And obviously we hear about those things that happen. I think there was a kid.
Jonathan, the Los Angeles Lakers lost a #1 draft pick 4 years ago with that same scenario, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They had a guard. He was out of the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
He was robbed coming out of a nightclub one night, okay?
Yeah.
Of his iPhone.
Yep.
Of his black gold band that he had on. It was valued at about $50,000. And a watch. That was a Rolex watch. So he lost $100,000 in jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's now in jail for life for murder.
Wow.
Because he went back and shot the guy who robbed him because the police wouldn't arrest the guy because they didn't have the evidence.
Well, that's dumb.
For an iPhone and $100,000 in jewelry, when this guy's contract, Charlton, was $4 million.
Yeah.
He had just made $4 million that year. He goes and commits murder because he didn't have the college mentality to understand what the law system was.
Yeah.
The judicial system take its course.
Yeah.
So he goes out and commits a revenge scenario, kills the young man, and he wasn't smart enough, Charlton, because he rented the car.
Yep.
He went out and rented the car under his name.
Yeah.
They found the shell casings in the car that came from the gun that he used. So this is the lack of intelligence that these young guys have coming out of college, Charlton.
Yeah.
And too much money. Like I said, the jewelry meant more to him than the $4 million that he was making.
Yeah, and more than his life.
Mentality to wait on the judicial system.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, and that goes back to what Silver's talking about with this draft coming up. They're trying to make it okay for players to just come out of college as long as you can play in the NBA. They don't care what happens to you socially, Big C, which we got to drive that message home. I know it's free enterprise. You can't force people not to make money, but you just brought up a very salient point, and I hope that a lot more people pay attention to that, Big C. As we also jump around the world of the NBA, we know we have the College World Series going on. Man, it's so hot out here in California. I know they're playing the game in Omaha, Nebraska. Now, I've never been to Omaha. I don't know if you have, but I hear it's pretty dry heat out there, Big C. How are them good old boys holding up and swinging aluminum bats, Big C?
You know, Omaha is a very beautiful city, Charles. It's some of the greatest stakes in the world out there in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just a wonderful place not too far away. You have the University of Nebraska in Lincoln.
Yeah.
You know, but the College World Series has been a staple in Omaha, Nebraska for decades, Charlton. They have a very beautiful stadium that they finished 3 years ago out there, you know, new stadium. You know, rivals a major league stadium, you know, for the college athletes.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
But just a beautiful setting to play in. The heat right now is in the 90s there in Omaha.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got the best players in college basketball and baseball competing, Charlton.
Yeah.
And this is what you live for, an opportunity to win the College World Series. You're playing against the best. A lot of these players that we see playing on this stage, Charlton,
yeah,
we will see in the major leagues over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Being competitive on that level.
Yeah.
That's what the college game produces. But what we have, Charlton, is what we're not talking about with the NBA draft.
Yeah.
We have juniors and seniors out there playing, being competitive, hoping to win a championship.
Yep.
Well, we have guys in the NBA. When we look at this draft, Charlton, we're going to have guys that went to school for 1 semester.
Yeah.
It shows that they attended for 2.
Yeah.
But they went to school for 1 semester and you know, didn't have enough credits to get through that second.
Yeah.
Because this was just a launching pad to get them to the NBA draft. And as you said, it's nothing wrong with a young man earning a living.
Yeah.
But the NBA has to be a little more prepared in bringing in these young draft classes.
Yeah.
On a mentorship program of teaching them the proper way to carry themselves as young adults now that they're billionaires.
Yeah.
Now that they're on that financial level that so many people in America want to be on.
Yeah.
That your responsibility is much more than just being an athlete. It's being a quality citizen. Because if you're a quality citizen as a young athlete, it goes along with you. You think about Magic Johnson. He came into the NBA, Charlton, at 19.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But he was a quality citizen. He was in the proper place with enough veteran support that, you know, they could keep him in check. But now you get these young players coming in.
Can't tell them nothing.
The oldest guy on the team is 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
Still a young guy.
Yeah.
You don't have 35-year-old veterans on teams anymore.
No.
Taking these young players under their wing, and these young players have such an attitude that you can't tell me nothing. I make more money than you.
Yeah, I think that's the attitude that we saw a lot in a lot of sports, Big C. But obviously, they have what they call, I think, FU money. That's how you good old boys turn it down south. Big C, in the final few moments of the program, I just want to bring up some things that are going on in the world of college football. I know that's your heart and joy is always in the football. The other things you kind of do for fun. But I think down south, them good old boys, are they already out there talking about who's going to win what conference down in the state of Florida, Big C? I know football's big down south. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, Charlton, they're bringing players in already for, these early spring practices.
Yeah.
Players are coming in and they're starting to work on the conditioning program. I know down here at the University of Florida, they've been bringing in players the last couple of days. And, this is one of the programs when you think about what McElwain has to start the season off, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's got to be very promising. He has two great quarterbacks. He has the son of Jack Del Rio, the head coach out there at the Oakland Raiders,
Yeah.
who is back after having some injuries last year.
Yeah.
Not only that, he has Malik Zaire, who was a starter at Notre Dame 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Who broke his ankle. And so he is transferred into the University of Florida. So Brian Kelly really has to be worried at the University of Notre Dame. He lost most of his quarterbacks. He lost Zaire and he lost the kid Kaiser, who went to the Browns in the second round. So he has no quarterback. But the University of Florida is going to have a great competition.
Yeah.
When it comes to quarterback this year, Charlton, in spring ball.
Yeah.
In summer ball, when you think about it, you got Del Rio, who was a starter last year.
Yeah.
And the kid that filled in for him when he was hurt. And you're bringing in Zaire, who's the fifth-year transfer out of the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So their competition level will be as good as any NFL team down here in Florida at quarterback, Charles.
And that's amazing that you're bringing that up. I know out here on the West Coast, we have a lot of water. I wish we had more water inland right now, Big C, but Sam Darnold, they're putting him at a 5-1 to win the Heisman. And he was a freshman last year at USC. Didn't play in the Alabama game. I think that he had the stomach flu. I guess he ate something wrong for those good boys that feed the visiting team. But obviously he showed how well he could play later in the year and of course in the Rose Bowl, Big C. But I don't know if he's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner because he's not very mobile. And I know everybody wants to say they appreciate a mobile quarterback, but they don't want to give that guy, the mobile quarterback, the chance to win the Heisman Trophy. And I know Southern California has a lineage of players that have won the Heisman, but I don't see him as a sophomore being the top quarterback in the country, Big C. I mean, you're down south, we see a lot of great athletes too. I know you don't see a lot of West Coast football, but your thoughts on him being tapped as a 5-1 choice to win the Heisman so early, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, I think they might have forgot about this kid named Jackson at the University of Louisville.
Louisville, yep.
Walked away with that hardware last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that his game has gotten any worse, and he's improved each of the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
At the University of Louisville under Coach Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
So I think, as far as I'm looking at everything, is that he's still the favorite to duplicate his feat from last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not only that, we have Francois down at Florida State, who had a phenomenal year as a redshirt freshman down there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kids. I mean, even Donald, he had a tremendous Rose Bowl game that everybody looked at, but you also have to look at the quarterback from Penn State.
Yeah.
He played him man from hand.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't take a second seat to Donald in the Rose Bowl. It was USC just happened to come out ahead, but both of these quarterbacks were in the 500-yard range in passing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he didn't do anything outstanding that we have not seen before. It's about the body of work, and it's hard to tab somebody as the chosen one, Charlton, when they've only played 8 or 9 college football games.
Well, Dixie, that's a very good point, too. Obviously, I'm a big West Coast fan. I hope he does well. It would be great to see USC get revenge over you guys, Alabama, in the national championship game, but we'll have to see how that goes. Big C, we talked about the heat all over the country. I hope people are staying hydrated, getting lots of fluids. We talked about, some of the things going on in the NBA, who's going to trade who and where they're going to end up. And then we talked a little bit about some college football. I know you're frothing at the brow. Is that what they call it, frothing at the brow or at the Moonshine Cup? One of them you're frothing at, Big C. I understand that's how they call it. But I want to know, what are you looking forward to going into this week, Big C? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, Charlton, I'm looking at the College World Series continuing in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, that's the hottest thing. Not only that, we got the expansion draft, the NHL expansion draft going on tomorrow night with the Las Vegas Knights.
Yep.
The new NHL team. They're going to pull a player from each of the NHL rosters.
Yeah.
Their biggest thing right now is they have to find a solid goalie, and everybody who understands hockey understands that everything goes to the goalie. So the Pittsburgh Penguins have 3 goalies on their roster. They were on that Stanley Cup winning team last year, and I think Fleury night in Las Vegas, and not only that, the following night we got the NBA draft going off, Charlton.
Well, Big C, obviously something the whole world will be paying attention to, and we will follow it also on Big C Sports. You can follow it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say, everybody understand that there's never any reason for domestic violence. If you know any woman that's in trouble, just call 911, because no one should have to go through that garbage all on her own, as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.